everybody? Welcome back to Angry Badger Minis. So we're still working on the Imperial Guard and we're working on this Manticore, and as you guys can see, I got a little impatient and I went ahead and primed her up. I did not glue the backs of these crazy glue tubes on, but I think this looks pretty good for what it is. And we have plastic card that we're going to be using that I remembered that I bought to outfit it with some panel details. And then I'm going with plan A, which I didn't talk to you guys about because I wasn't sure that it was what I wanted to really do. But I have a bunch of old, and I have more of hunter killer missile pods, if you will, that I never really liked the look of anyway. And I'm going to use those to make the stabilizers for this. So well, that's what we'll be working on. I also went ahead and, as you guys can see, I've got a bunch of painted or prime models here, and these are the old Stormtrooper models, and then the Kazarkin models. Let me just move my camera over some here so I'm not blocking my face too much. But anyway, that's basically what we are working on at the moment. So my goal is to keep pushing on this thing and see if we can't work it out. Now, there's nothing saying that I couldn't just stop here. I mean, I think it actually looks pretty nice, but there's, you know, again, it's missing the stabilizer fins and, you know, some details that I think would look, you know, pretty nice on there. I haven't decided on what I'm gonna do with the back here, if I'm gonna roll with this or not. I don't know, we'll see. Seems like a waste to not use it. So anyway, I've cut out a couple stabilizer fins here. I'm cutting out you know, the majority, or, you know, again, and I'm getting basically 2 out of each one. So that's, you know, essentially what I'm working on at the moment, and I'm using my little dots here to kind of measure everything and line it up so I can trim some of these other pieces up. But again, a lot of these bits have been around for decades, literally decades, at least 2 to be clear. So right now that's 1, 2, 3, 4. This is just the front that I'm working on right now. So that's basically 1, 2. We'll get this one cut here. In some ways I'm glad this is a dull knife. In some ways I'm not. I'm afraid that if I had a sharper knife, which I do have them, that I would cut too much of the wrong angle, if that makes sense to you guys. Let me go ahead and pull this thing back up too, so that everybody sees what it is we're working on. I mean, if you don't already know by now, I mean, I'm sure you do. Let's see. This bad boy right here. We are essentially building our own. So yeah. But I also had to learn today how everything is broken down now for the Imperial Guard, which was interesting to say the least, because I have all of these models here, Kazarkin models and the Stormtroopers, although I appear to be missing a Stormtrooper Sergeant, and I'm not sure where that went. Again, a lot of this stuff is decades old, moving constantly, stuff like that. Things get lost, I guess. He could be around somewhere, I don't know, but if anything, I would just count him as a drop pod or drop shoot, grab shoot casualty. Not in terms of points for my opponent, of course, but just, you know, for the heck of it. Or maybe these guys are the dirty dozen and they just really don't need a sergeant. But anyway, what I was saying was, let's see here. This might actually go quicker than I thought it was going to go. These guys all, regardless of how they look, and I'm sure some of you already know this, they serve as Tempestus. Hold on, I might not be saying that right. I think it's Tempestus. It might be Temptus Scions. Now that I think about it, Temptus. Let's see here. Military Tempestus, yeah. And then I don't think that said military. I think it said something else. I think it said Militarum. But they're a troop choice now, or before, I guess they were elites. Hold on, I'm gonna find it here. What the heck, man? There we go. Militarum Tempestus, yeah, Scions. So basically, regardless of how these guys all look, that's how they are. The issue is I have the same situation going on with these guys over here, where I am shy one sergeant. I'm not positive, but I think that the numbers changed or something like that. I can't remember. And that's why I'm in the predicament that I'm in. But it's okay, because, you know, open play and things like that, it won't matter. Or shouldn't matter, I should say. Alright, and this is going to be 2 as well. So, the way this looks right now, I will have more than enough plastic, if you will, to accomplish this mission. Because this right here is just, you know, each pair here is just for these front stabilizers on each one, and I haven't even done these over here yet. So looks like we're in good shape as far as that's concerned. I may not even have to dig in anything. So now I want to cut this in half the best we can. I'm not too concerned about it being perfect. I'm just concerned about sending it across the room. Then I'm going to cut off at an angle here on this corner. And then I'm going to make a little cut right here, just to give it some character. Do a little measuring here. Make sure I'm not too far forward. That looks about right. I did cut a little too much there, but I can fix that. Okay. Same deal on all of these. And this really does take me back, you know, to my days of first, you know, modeling, if you will, when I first started doing this. Like I said last night, my very first tank conversion was C4 blasting cap, a C4 blasting cap container. So, matter of fact, let me see here. Yeah, this is gonna look good. I do need to trim these down here though. They're a little too wide on this first one. Okay. Tell you what. Let's see here. I want to look for something real quick because I know I have something here that I can use. I want to go get something for you guys, but I don't want everybody thinking I'm just not here for whatever reason. So I had a thing that basically said be right back. And I really wish Windows would stop with the freaking updates because it's really starting to irritate me. It keeps resetting and messing up all of my settings. Also, we did our first test run on Twitch yesterday. I wasn't overly impressed with the microphone on there. That part kind of threw me off because my microphone clearly sounds better on YouTube, but I guess it is what it is. So let's see here. Ideally, what would be better is if hold on a second. 1 second, guys. Looks like I won't have to do that at all. My wife's gonna grab the photo album that I've been talking to you guys about and just never seem to pull it out. So anyway, while she's doing that, I'm gonna grab these here. Again, my goal here is to make sure that I do not send this flying across the room. That would really stink because I'll probably never find a piece again. Like that one that just shot away. But I thought you guys might like to see some of this stuff. These pictures are, of course, way back, late 90s. And no, you're not going to see any pictures of me, per se. You might see some other folks. Thank you. This is what we've got from back in the day. I'm going to see if you guys can make all this stuff out. I thought you guys might enjoy this. Let me just move some stuff out of the way here. And of course, I was very proud of my Steel Legion army when I bought it. So this is, you know, it's not painted, of course, but in these pictures. But let's get down on this. So this was their very first game, and they were securing a bridge and ended up actually winning. The thing that really upset people about this army, if you remember from my past videos, the reason I bought an Imperial Guard army is because everybody said you couldn't win with them, that they were horrible. Well, this game proved that was not the case, and people were not happy at all at how they were getting decimated. You also had, you know, I had a couple of chimeras. I think actually I had all these chimeras. Here's some of my sentinels, you know, back in the day, and you can see kind of how I painted it. You know, I mean, this wasn't, you know, a finished paint job, of course, but yeah, this was their first battle, and they pretty much wrecked everything, and they were not very static as an army at all. I had that one basilisk that you see there that we've repaired. And again, just to put this into perspective, this was back in 99, I believe, or something, 98, 99. I'm trying to remember what this was supposed to be. I think this was supposed to be a demolisher one, and I just cut the thing off. I don't remember. Demolisher Lehman Russ. Here's a Lehman Russ coming, you know, through an alleyway. And then this area right here, you see the table. This was basically like a river, if you will. But I mean, again, this was back in the day, you know, we had very little that we could even do anything with. All this foam was just stuff we found in the trash or that we had. You can see I hadn't even finished putting the basilisk together yet. I just wanted to play with it. Oh, something of note. Also, I'm seeing right here, I don't know if you guys can make that out, but these, apparently all of these had heavy bolters on their turrets instead of multi-lasers. I don't even remember doing that. I'm not even sure that's a thing anymore. Trying to think who I was playing against here in this purple. Must have been, I think it was like a chaos force of some type, possibly. But yeah, these were pretty big tables. We tried to do anything we could to keep it from being, you know, especially with the basilisk where I had to guess range, which I got very good at. And back then you couldn't pre-measure like you can now. So that was a really big deal. And so we kind of tried to keep the boards as random as far as size as we could. These were my first Tyranids. Small army. Those of you that know anything about Tyranids, you can see the turkey nids here. You got one screamer. I had 3 lictors and the old hive tyrant. I mean, all of these models are the old stuff. Hormigons. You know, first gen Gene Stealer model, I guess. Oh, I had two Carnifexes there. So this was one of our better boards. I made this a long time ago. Let's see if I can get it in the picture. I'm over here trying to line it up like you're looking at the board flat. But anyway, this crashed spaceship right here was made out of a water bottle and some Star Wars parts, I think from an X-Wing fighter. And it was like as if the ship came in, hit like this way, hit that rock right there, and then split in half, you know, and buried itself in the ground. And then the rest of this, of course, is, you know, what you call it, aquarium type stuff and moss. And then this was my first Space Marine army. That's not true. I'm sorry. This was my first Space Marine army of size, I'll put it that way. And they were Dark Angels, only they weren't called Dark Angels. All of these tanks, if you notice, these do not look like GW tanks, and they weren't. All of these tanks are, it's an army type vehicle, and I forget the name of it now off the top of my head. I think it was World War II era. But all of them, I mean, they gave me the scale that I wanted, just to give you an idea. Here's one of them right here. For those of you that are, tank gurus, you would be able to tell me better. But they gave me the scale that I wanted, and I didn't, they were cheap. I could actually get them at the PX. So it wasn't, I mean, look at that stuff, man. The wheels are better. I mean, I put a heavy bolter on the top and stuff like that with things that I had. But I mean, the scale, you could fit 10 Space Marines in that thing. You know what I mean? I actually kind of missed those. Here's another picture right here, going down nostalgia lane here. I always assumed that this rolled up stuff here was going to be like camineting or something like that. But I was really proud of those vehicles. And of course I based my models to match, that board, because that was my board and it was what they mostly played on. But you'll notice also that there is, in fact, a Chaos model here as my captain. Sorry. Let's see if we can get this up here. But I really like that model. So I think if I'm not mistaken, I think I cut his head off or something and put something else on there. And again, this is just, it's going down memory lane. Here's a good look, 16-foot long table. Each one of these panels, is an 8-foot sheet of plywood. And there's 2 green and there's 2 gray. Actually, wait a minute. Hold on. No, I'm sorry. 3 green and 1 gray. That's right. 1, 2, 3, and then 1 gray. This was a battlefield that we played a lot on. Here's another look at it, just to give you an idea how big this table really was. And this was also the table that, and I wish I had taken pictures, was also the table that I did probably my best battle ever, 8 on 8. This is not kid friendly, but the reason that I'm being flipped off in this picture is because this Chaos player before I came along was probably the best player in the club, and he just couldn't be beat again until I came along. And then it was all about fire maneuver for me, actual Marine Corps tactics. And I started, I got to the point, honestly, and we became, at first, this guy, to be honest with you, he was really upset. Not in this battle, but it was a battle before this. But we became, decent enough friends that he was able to laugh at, the destruction and mayhem that I could put on him. But his bikes were his pride and joy. He said back in the States, he rode a lot of Harleys and stuff like that. But he, I ended up wiping out this whole group just with combined bolter fire. Yes. So here is, if you take a look right here, here is that cannon that we put on this guy right here. There it is. I knew I had it on something. I don't know where I got it from, because I never had the actual Vindicator, Space Marine Vindicator tank, but there it is. There is the cannon. Oops. Let's see here. This was just another game, and again, this army wasn't fully painted or anything. Okay, so we did have more gray. I thought we had four gray boards at least. Here's 3 in this picture. But yeah, we tried to keep it as random as possible. And then of course we were limited in Okinawa, Japan with what we had. That was that guy's army versus my army on a smaller scale. And of course I took, snipers and things like that just because. the actual chaos of his Chaos Marines getting wrecked. He couldn't stand it. My guys always looked relatively uniform moving across the table. Got some orc heads here on there. Yes, and this is what I wanted to show you. So if you guys take a look at this, well, here, I'll just show you the bottom picture first. If you take a look at this right here, let me grab a pencil, just pen rather. This centerpiece right here, let's see if I can get that back into focus for you guys. Hold on, I'm fighting Dr. Octopus over here for some stupid reason. Alright, anyway, if you take a look at this centerpiece right here, just these 6 right here, this is an actual C4 blasting cap container. The rest of these are ink pen, you know, the outside part of an ink pen. And so this was my very first Whirlwind. And I mean, it was amazing. I used to just wreck things with this, you know, with this. Of course, back then you had to have line of sight with it. You know, and that, excuse me, that just kind of sucked a little bit, but, you know, it is what it is. Again, I miss all the little details, extra tracks and things like that. But, and I think most of this was painted, believe it or not, with enamel paint, not acrylics, because I didn't have acrylics. Didn't know anything about them, to be honest with you. Here's a shot directly from the front. As you can see, I put extra track pieces on the front, you know, similar to, you know, what would be in real life. But yeah, it's pretty neat. Here's one of my pride and joys, this sergeant here. He was the first robed Space Marine that I was able to get my hands on. My first attempt at a power sword, even though I didn't have one, you know, I just kind of made it like it was a power sword. To me, it didn't matter that it was, you know, an actual chain sword. This also was my pride and joy. This was a captain in Terminator armor, but I wanted a chaplain. And so I made the hood with green stuff or something. Actually, I don't even think it was green stuff. But that's a regular Space Marine helmet. Of course, I didn't know anything about that in regards to Terminators and stuff. And you can see this wonky, you know, piece that I added on there. And then I made him a Crozius Arcanum. Now, something that you guys will notice is this. You guys have seen these craters. Okay, you've seen these craters in the videos and stuff, and previously. These craters right here, man, that's how old they are. That's how old those craters are, and I still have them to this day. This was in my base housing unit. Sort of how I kind of kept things set up, just so I had an idea, you know, I mean, just so I could look at things. And then sometimes guys would come over if we weren't playing at the actual community center. But yeah, it was pretty neat. These were some, I didn't have any scouts at the time other than those snipers. And so I made my own scouts out of regular Space Marines. Probably can't see that too well. I don't know whatever happened to these guys. But basically I trimmed down their legs to make them thinner, and I've only put the heads on that didn't have a helmet, and of course no shoulder pauldrons, and a bunch of pouches and stuff like that. Here we have, you know, the community center, another shot of that table. This was, and if I'm not mistaken, his last name or his first name was Jan. This was his army. He had an entire Space Marine army. These were his Terminators here in gray, and his captain themed after Star Wars. So all of his Space Marines, you know, were themed after stormtroopers. And I apologize, it's not a great picture. His leader, of course, is Darth Vader, and then his Terminators were like, you know, AT-ATs or whatever, or AT-ATs. Then we had another guy, trying to remember his name now. I can't believe I forgot, and I feel bad now. But he was real big into orcs, and of course back then conversions were, you know, huge. And this was the game that they played, orcs versus the you know, Space Marines, and his orcs won, but it is what it is. Now this was my very first, well, not my very first endeavor, but this is my first real good endeavor of making terrain from scratch, as well as my first pretty decent squad of Space Marines, and they were Space Wolves. Now my very first one were Blood Angels, but it was horrible. But all of these rocks that you see, I hand carved those. I mean, the foam rocks, obviously not, you know, these are actually real rocks. That's a real big rock thing. So basically all the rocks that look like real rocks are real rocks. Some more of the tables, you know, and again, we had to do all this stuff. We had to do all this stuff, you know, ourselves. Go out and try to find things that we could use to make it. Here's some better pictures of the crashed spaceship. And this board got played on quite a bit. And as you can see, like I said, it's like the spaceship came in. It's like the spaceship came in, hit this rock, split apart, and then crashed in here. Now I could have gone further with it, obviously, but as you can see, the entire board is modular, so that was one piece, all, you know, one piece all in itself. And then to give you an idea, sorry, I'm fighting Dr. Octopus here again. This was my Tyranids against, I'm not sure who that is or what. I think it looks like orcs, maybe. Yeah, because those look like Gretchen right there. A lot of man hours into making these tables and stuff, and I'm kind of glad in a way I have these pictures. This was the back of a land speeder. I think this was it was either a Killican or a Dreadnought that he took the back of a land speeder and, you know, made his own. This was my first endeavor with Dark Eldar, using, you know, an actual Eldar Falcon. I don't like the Dark Eldar Raiders and stuff like that, those models. I think they're stupid. It makes absolutely no sense to me in the 40K realm anywhere, except maybe at Kamara. Okay, that's the only it does not make any sense how they would be able to attack, you know, anything with those stupid ships, especially given their technology, given their background and everything else. So I basically, what I did was I made this part, you know, to go on top of it, just so I could outfit as many Dark Eldar as I needed, you know, that could fit on there as normal. And I, you know, took some before pictures, I guess. Sorry, I'm struggling with the camera here. And then give you guys an idea of how I put it. Now, mind you, all this is just cardboard. You know, I didn't know anything about plastic card back then. I'm not even sure if I'm sure it existed, I guess, but I'm not sure. You don't mind my wife's hair right here. It gets everywhere. And then here's two of them side by side. A lot of my photography, you know, was inside, but I did try to do some stuff outside. I wasn't, you know, like a budding, photographer or anything. I just wanted to get, you know, adequate light on things and stuff like that. And I think for the most part, I did a fair job. So let's see here. See if I can get these scouts up here so you guys can see them a little better. of course they were dark in color, so there's that. And then we've got, you know, some of my Space Marines. Again, it's a little hard to see, I guess, because they were so dark and everything. Oh, this guy right here, man. So this guy, and then he was one of my favorite sergeants. Probably can't, if you can make out that red or whatever on his face, his face was done up. And yeah, those purity seals and stuff, I did all that myself. His face was done up in the manner of Grendel. If you guys know who I'm talking about, Grendel the assassin. I was big into him in the comics back in the day. Here's some Space Marines coming out of the back of that APC, and in the back I actually put Marines, so that way, you know, you could see, you know, that they were sitting down and everything like that. So that was pretty cool. Let's see here. What else do we got that's interesting? We've got this, you know, my very first little game room. Nothing special. Nothing compared to what I have now. And then we have my first set of industrialized terrain. And this is where things get crazy. So I'm sure that people, you know, we weren't the only ones, or say we, meaning me. I wasn't the only one to ever come up with this idea, but now that Kill Team is such a thing, or was such a thing, that's exactly what we did with a lot of these boards. Sorry, is we made some smaller boards where we could, you know, battle it out pretty fast over a lunch period, you know, of like an hour. And as you can see, you know, it's you know, made out of, you know, basic stuff that you have. I mean, I think this was like a whey protein deal. These are straws, of course, some sprue to make ladders, cardboard. This is actual PVC pipe back here. I forget what kind of can that is, but I mean, the point is, I was doing this stuff a long time ago, and oh, if you take a look here, I just noticed this. See this stuff back here? This is all plant stuff that was ready to make more jungle terrain or whatever it was that we needed. So good memories. But this board in and of itself, this board here, we were able to do a Kill Team deal on it, you know, essentially 4x4, and we did a lot of like trying to, you know, blow things up under a certain time limit. And in that regard, essentially, and that's all the pictures I have, looks like you literally did it like you would in chess, you know. I mean, once the timer started, you had so much time to make your moves and then, you know, move on from there. Plus you had the time on the clock before the bomb exploded, so there was all of that, you know, going on as well. But yeah, now I've shown you guys those pictures I keep talking about that I keep forgetting to bring out. So that's nice. Let's see here. Let's get that over there. So what I'm going to do before I go into any more of this cutting is I am going to work on outfitting one of these rockets, so we can at least see if we've made a mistake, if we need to come up with another plan or what have you. By the way, Crazy Glue, according to my wife, has come out with a new crazy colored tube. But anyway, let's see here. So first things first, you know, I'm thinking what I may need to do first actually is put these panels on, but I think I can get away with the bottom pieces down here. Pretty sure right here I can get away with that. So, and then we'll put the panel on after that, after I cut it. So we'll set that there. Doesn't look bad at all, actually. Of course, by the time I get through screwing around with it, it's probably gonna not work anymore. Yeah, that looks pretty decent. Okay, then we want to cut a panel. Although, I wonder if I can get away with using this stuff instead of plastic card. Let's see. I probably have to trim it down further. That's okay. We can do that. Just because it's round. Let me see something here. All right. So we're going to try to put this on here. See how it works out. Looks, and it's the same size, so that's really what I need. So all right, so we're gonna, let's see here. Let me grab this. Put some glue on there. Worst case is if we don't like the way it looks, we just go back and sand it all off. That's all. Let's see here. But I think this is going to work out just fine, actually. I guess if I really wanted to, I could put glue right here and here to try to make it, you know, blend in a little more. I don't know, man. That looks pretty thick. It looks thicker than it should be. Alright, we're gonna take that off. So. trying to see. How I would like to do this. I think I'm starting to understand what the problem is. There was an extra layer that goes over top of this that I do not believe I'm going to be able to accomplish. So and for those of you that are wondering why I did not use the Tau missiles that I said I was going to use, they're exceptionally smaller. They are not as big as I thought that they were, and they would have looked really stupid compared to, you know, this thing and what it's capable of doing. So it's definitely not something that I want to do. So that being said, that explains why this looks so small sticking out, because it's not raised up on another level. So we might be able to do this. I don't know. I'm going to go ahead and pull this off again. Of course, it's going to take sanding stuff down later, because I didn't try to take the crazy glue paper off, which is fine. I was hoping I was going to be able to use it for this very reason. Let's see here. And I'm using a fine grit here, that way I'm not roughing up the paper too bad, and it'll go right, you know, the primer will go right over top of it. So that being said, let's grab this plastic card here, because that's going to change a lot. That's going to delay the wings. And we're going to want probably a solid, we're going to want a solid 1/2 inch here of this plastic card. Might be a little too much, but we can figure that out in a minute. wrapping it around this to give it some support so it doesn't snap on me. So what'll have to happen here is I will need to take this off if I can. I did put a lot of glue on it to try to hold it in place. And then we will take and wrap this around, see how far we get. It looks like we'll get far enough that, maybe not. I was gonna say maybe we would get far enough around it that we could get away with not seeing the bottom, but that's not the case. We got to go a little bit further, and I would guesstimate that to be about about another about another quarter of an inch before we start meeting up. But that gives me hope for detail on this thing, so I'm pretty stoked about that. Alright, so we just need to make that measurement. And then it's probably right. Yep, that looks about right. There's nothing wrong with going back on your project and making changes if it's going to make it better. Sometimes you come up with ideas you didn't think about in the first place, like this right here. It never crossed my mind. Well, we're rolling up on an hour here. You guys see what it is that I'm trying to do. So I'm going to go ahead and call this stream a night, and we will update you tomorrow with our progress on this. Alright guys, so thanks a lot. We'll see you next time.